Good afternoon, everyone. I am John Mann, Director of Education for Lakeside. And our speaker this afternoon for the Chautauqua Environmental Series is Robin Gill. Robin is the Dark Sky Initiative Coordinator for the Wilderness Center, which she joined in 2017. Robin graduated from Mount Union with a BS in Physics and Astronomy. In addition to a long career in the energy industry, she served as a science director at the William McKinley Museum. And today we'll explore how light pollution affects animals that begin their day when the sun sets. We'll also look at how light pollution affects plants, people, and climate change. I would ask you would please mute your cell phone ringers if you haven't already, and help me and welcome Robin Gill.
John. Okay. Well, thank you for having me this afternoon. And my title is Dark Skies Matter. But first, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the Wilderness Center. Everywhere I go, people say, well, what's the Wilderness Center? So I thought I would share just a little bit of information about us. The Wilderness Center was founded in 1964. It's a private, nonprofit nature center. We're surrounded by Amish and Mennonite farms mostly, and several small towns. We're in the very southwest corner of Stark County, about as far as you can get. This is our nature center, and it's located on our headquarters property in Wilmot, Ohio. And it provides the focal point for so many of our activities. We serve our 4 surrounding counties for the most part. We do stretch out from that a little. And our purpose is to inspire and nurture a connection between people and nature through habitat conservation, environmental education, and community engagement. Okay, maybe not. All right. Our headquarters property, which is about 660 acres, it's home to mature beech maple and oak maple hardwood forest. We have the middle fork of Sugar Creek and Fox Creek running through our property. Our property boasts emergent wetlands, man-made lake and pond, special pollinator fields, and we have a tall grass prairie. We also have a restored stream and floodplains. And it's these varied habitats that provide us the opportunities for a wide selection of programs and different studies. Now, beyond our 660 acres at our headquarters, we currently protect just shy of 3,500 acres of agricultural land, forests, meadows, wetlands, and prairie in 7 counties. That includes 500 acres of wetlands and 13 miles of freshwater streams. We accept land donations within the Sugar Creek and Killbuck Creek watersheds. And we also operate a revolving land trust. And that allows us to assist other organizations in obtaining critical parcels of land to protect. And by doing this, TWC has become an incredibly important community collaborator. Our other conservation includes conservation projects and restoration projects. We have our community conservation projects, which include our backyard habitat and our dark sky initiative. And we also have a consulting forestry program. The people we serve, groups, school groups, any group you can think of, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H, church, whoever you are, if you're a group, we will serve you. We also have family programming, and we also have adult programming. And right in the center of all of this, I put our astronomy education building, which houses our planetarium and observatory. And we are very fortunate to have such a facility at our site. There are nature centers around this country that would die to have what we have in this building. But that building serves all these people. The last thing I want to tell you about is our Foxfield. Foxfield is a nature preserve cemetery. And this we do to provide conservation burial so that we're preserving and protecting the land. And it's a beautiful, beautiful site. It's not too far from it's like right around the corner from our headquarters property. And what I did was, if you're interested in any of those things, I brought some brochures for the consulting forestry. If you have property, forest, woodlands that you want to take care of, you think you can do a better job, you want to change some things to attract different animals, whatever, our consulting forest person is the person you want to have help you. And then I also have a Foxfield Preserve folder there for you too, if you're interested. All right, on the dark skies. This definition is the official definition from Dark Skies International. And essentially what light pollution is, it's any light at night that isn't needed or is shining in directions it shouldn't be, light going up into the sky. All right? Anything that isn't shining down at the ground is light pollution. Now, the term was originally termed by astronomers, but today it's used by so many different people. Doctors, ecologists, physiologists, neurologists, biologists, just about every field that's looking into how light pollution is affecting the inhabitants of Earth, every creature on Earth, and plants as well. The loss of the night is no longer just about, well, gee, we can't see stars. We've learned that light pollution is affecting us in ways we hadn't considered. These are the latest current pollution maps. The upper left, this was satellite data collected between 2011 and 2022. So you can see light pollution across the states and into Europe and Asia. And what it's showing is worldwide, 83% of the world's population is living under light polluted skies. If you take just Europe and the US, that's 99% of the population is living under light polluted skies. The lower left, that shows the United States. 2/3 of the people in the US today can no longer see the Milky Way at night. We've lost our night sky to light pollution. The data on the right shows Ohio. Now, I can tell you, all of Ohio, it doesn't matter where you live in Ohio, you live under light pollution. When you get into the pinks and the whites, that's the worst of it. Now, I live in this light pollution corridor down here from the Canton area, North Canton. And then the Wilderness Center is just here in the red. And then you can see Worcester here. That's where I am. So you can see my skies suck. You guys are up in this region. But again, wherever you go in Ohio, we have light pollution. Now, that data collected between 2011 and 2022, it showed that light pollution was increasing by 2% each of those years. That data was collected by weather satellites that cannot see the blue light of LEDs. So all the LED lighting that's gone up, they can't see it. They're too old for that. They also can't see light that comes out horizontally from signs or off the sides of buildings. So they miss data. So the scientist went to the citizen science data collected by Globe at Night. And when they combined the citizen science data with the satellite data, what they found was in that time frame, light pollution was actually increasing by 10% per year. 10% per year between 2011 and 2022. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. Worse than we thought. Now, North America is actually a little bit on the even worse side because we're 10.4% in each of those years. So our light pollution is getting worse. Now, let me go to the next one. This is one way that we look at light pollution. This is called the Bortle scale. And yes, it was developed by an astronomer, so it's based on what can we see in the night sky, going from pristine, super dark skies over there at 1 to inner city up here at 9. And you can kind of use this to judge, okay, in my backyard, where am I? Because it's a qualitative assessment of light pollution. Now, at the Wilderness Center, we're a 4. We're at that suburban rural transition area, but we're starting to nudge a little over here to the 5 because Canton keeps putting up awful lighting. So our skies become more filled with light pollution. We have a lot of light dome to our east. Now, I live outside of North Canton, and I'm somewhere between 5 and 6 at my backyard. So this is one kind of measurement that we can make. Now, what I hope to be able to show you is how all this light pollution is affecting us here on Earth as we go through this presentation. This is one form of light pollution. It's called a light dome, and this is the light dome over Canton. The bigger the city, the bigger the light dome. Large cities, we're talking New York, San Francisco, LA, New Orleans, Chicago, big cities. Light pollution can travel 200 to 250 to 300 miles away. Their light pollution is reaching into some of the darkest areas we have in this country that are left, like our national parks. And that's on a clear night. If it's cloudy, the light reflects off the clouds and spreads even further. So I'm sure you might be familiar with seeing these kinds of light domes. That's one kind of light pollution. So let me talk about some of our critters. All life on Earth evolved in the seasonal and daily rhythms of life, day and night, going through the seasons of spring, summer, winter, fall. They grew up in that. That's what we evolved in. And it's estimated that half of all species, and 70% of all mammals start their day when the sun goes down. That's a lot. And they depend on these cycles. They depend on day and night cycles for eating, for hiding from their predators, all right? For breeding. Everything they do is done at night, and they depend on the dark of night to do it. And many creatures won't even come out during a full moon because it's too bright, and if they're a prey species, that's kind of a bad time to be there. So even the full moon can put some of these creatures away for a few nights. Now, with amphibians, amphibian populations have been decreasing, and they have many factors causing that. Yes, there's water pollution, climate change, loss of habitat, but it's turning out that light pollution is right there in the mix. That because these are nighttime creatures, The way they breed is by croaking. When you hear frogs croaking, they're breeding. With light pollution, if there's any light pollution in their area, they will not croak. They will not talk. And if they're not croaking, they're not breeding. So populations are declining. And this is part of the reason why. Now, with light pollution, some animals are drawn to it and some want to get away from it. Frogs want to be away from it, for the most part. Another way light pollution harms our amphibians is you might find them under street lights at night because street lights attract insects, lots and lots of insects. So they go there to eat. It's like a little smorgasbord for them. However, they also end up as roadkill. And across the world, they're tracking that. And roadkill amphibians are piling up. So that is another way that light pollution is affecting our amphibians. Birds. And that was the first thing Carol said to me when she came in here, birds. Yeah, millions and millions of birds are dying around the world during migration because they run into these brightly lit buildings in cities. They're drawn to the light. This is one of those creatures that's drawn to the light. And when they're migrating, they can see those light domes from miles away, all right? And they're drawn to those light domes. They're drawn to Cleveland. There's Doppler radar evidence of a flock coming out of Canada, going this way, seeing Cleveland, and veering right to Cleveland. Now, not only do they get trapped in the building lights, not only are we picking them up in the mornings because they're dead and they've hit the lights, but if they get to the cities, they're putting themselves in danger as well because they can't eat. There's nothing there. There's no good food source for them when they get to these cities. They're also more prone to be preyed upon because you've got cats running around. And we're talking suburban. More birds die in suburban areas than we realize because of the light pollution. They're running into windows and cats. So birds, we need to shut our lights down. And we have our Lakeside Ohio, and some cities are doing better than others. Cleveland will shut lights off at certain times, but not all the time. Other cities will turn lights off every night for weeks, whatever it takes to get the migration done, but Cleveland is not one of them. So that's one way light hurts. But there are other birds too. Owls, not all owls migrate. My barn owl here, they're built for the night, okay? These birds, they can fly from a dark forest out into a moonlit meadow and back in one fell swoop, and they're just beautiful. And their eyes are adapted to do this. Our eyes, people eyes, are made up of rods and cones. Cones allow us to see during the day. They see in bright light. That's why we're so good at the day. Rods allow us to see in dim light. So that's what we use at night. We use our rods when we're walking around someplace dimly lit. My barn owl friend here, he also has rods and cones. He is 93% rods. He is built for seeing in the dark. Only 7% cones. These birds can have their eyes hurt by being in the light. They can start, if they're exposed too long to a brightly lit area, it's a functional blindness, and they start to see after images. And if they are exposed to bright light for a long period of time, they can actually go blind. That's why if you've ever been to a wonderful lecture on birds of prey, and they bring in owls. The owls are in boxes, closed in dark boxes. They ask you to turn the lights down wherever they are so that when they bring them out, it's very dim light. Because good people know you can't expose them to these kinds of lights. They need the dimmer light if they're going to be in a discussion about birds, these birds. So our owls are moving further and further away, trying to get away from the lights. The other bird, this is a black-capped heron, night heron, a black-capped night heron. And they evolved to feed at night to get them away from the egrets and the herons, the bigger birds, because they didn't have to fight for food. They didn't have to fight with those birds to eat. So they became night birds. And these birds have the most elaborate courtship ritual that they do at night. For those who have seen it, and I have not, they say it's incredible to watch these birds at night. But again, they need the dark to survive. So what do indigo buntings and my dung beetle over here have in common? They use the stars to navigate. Now, an indigo bunting is a songbird, and it's a migrating songbird. And in the 60s, there was a research team who hypothesized that indigo buntings must have some kind of innate star maps in their little brains, because how else would they get from this far north to as far south as they go? So they decided to do some experiments. And they went to a planetarium, which I thought was pretty smart on their part. And they turned the birds loose in the planetarium. Now, I'm not so sure about that part. But as you're aware, stars rise in the east and they set in the west. And what they learned was the birds did not cue on a star pattern. What they cued on was the motion of the stars. Polaris is our North Pole star. That's where the northern axis of the Earth points. And the Earth rotates around that axis, making Polaris the only star in our sky that doesn't move. And they were using that star and the motions. That's how they were guiding themselves southward, which was amazing to the researchers. They paid attention to the motion and the star that didn't move. Now, my little dung beetle over here, actually not so little, this is a South African dung beetle, so he's pretty big. And dung beetles gather up their dung, they roll it into a ball, and then they make a straight line back to wherever they're taking it. And researchers wanted to know how they did that. So again, they went to a planetarium, and they made tiny little dung beetle hats and put them on their heads so that they couldn't see up. And when they couldn't see the sky, they were totally lost. They couldn't make a straight line to save their little dung beetle lives, okay? They could not. Took the hats off, turned the stars on with the moon, and they found that when the moon was in the sky, they could use the moon to navigate by, and they made their straight lines as long as the moon was in the sky. Well, then they turned the stars and the moon off, and this particular planetarium had the ability just to turn on the edge of the Milky Way. And when they did that, these dung beetles could still navigate. They were using the stars at the edge of our galaxy to navigate by. And I get goosebumps every time I say that. Stars at the edge of the galaxy to navigate. Scientists don't know how many animals actually use the stars to navigate, but they think it's a large number. And I've noticed that the list keeps getting longer. So many species use the stars to navigate at night. Okay, insects. It's been documented for a while now, insect populations are decreasing around the world, and it's actually worrying some people. They're calling it an insect apocalypse. Common problems, right? Loss of habitat, using pesticides, climate change, but also light pollution is starting to rear its little head here too, more so than we think. For instance, moths. Moths are night pollinators, and there are some others. But if there's a light source anywhere near where they're trying to pollinate, they are drawn to the light source. They're not pollinating. There are plants, trees, and other plants that they pollinate at night. It's not getting done. And yes, we have the daytime pollinators, but there's not enough. They cannot make up for what's not being pollinated. And it's estimated that about 1/3 of all insects around those lights at night will be dead by morning, either through predation or because they just exhausted themselves in the trip. Now, lightning bugs. We're actually doing our lightning bug festival this Friday for families. And lightning bugs have been around for millions of years. But in the recent decades, they are disappearing from places they used to call home. Again, same things, all the things that are for moths are happening to the lightning bugs, but they're particularly sensitive to light pollution because they use their blinking, their bioluminescence, to attract mates. The males blink, female blinks back, says, "Hi, how are you? Come over here." They can't see each other when there's light pollution. So they're not breeding. A full moon can stop them from blinking because it's too bright. And after a while, if they're in light pollution, the male's not getting anywhere, they just stop. They stop blinking and go about something else. So they're not breeding, and that's part of the reason we are losing our lightning bugs. Also, when they're blinking, there are certain predators that will leave them alone. If there's too much light pollution, even the predator can't see the blinking, but can see the bug. So they're being preyed on more as well. Part of the reason they're disappearing. With the mosquitoes, and these were just 4 of the insects I picked. But mosquitoes, you have your morning mosquitoes, your afternoon mosquitoes, and then your evening mosquitoes. That's the way it has worked for a long time. What's happening with light pollution is those morning mosquitoes are starting earlier at biting things and biting people. The afternoon mosquitoes are biting later into the night. They're joining the ones that typically bite at night. So scientists have a real serious concern that because the mosquitoes are biting longer periods of time now, that there's going to be an uptick in mosquito-borne diseases. They're very concerned about that. And then we have our mammals. All of them depend on the dark for their foraging. They hide from prey. They build their homes like the beaver over there at night. They do their mating at night. Everything they do is done in the dark. And if it's not dark, they stop doing it. So very important to all the mammals that we have. And as I said, it's not just mammals, it's also plants. Light confuses plants. Day and night, as it's supposed to work, it tells them when to start growing in the spring, when to leaf out, when to make buds and flowers, when to fruit. They can start too late. They can start too early at doing those things on the light pollution. In the fall, trees get the cues. You got to start dropping your leaves, and they have to do that because if they hold on to their leaves, they can receive more damage during the winter, and it damages the trees. And as you can see, the light pole in front of this tree caused half of the tree to hold on to its leaves. The other half of the tree was protected by the part that took the abuse, so it knew when to drop leaves. So this tree will eventually start to show damage from the light pollution. Now this is one of my favorite examples. This is a soybean field, northern Alabama. And I have a light pole. Why don't that show? I don't know what it's doing. Let me use the pointer on this thing. Sure, tech support, you can look at it. There we go. All right, let me do this. All right. Nope, not what I asked you to do. Here's the light. And you can see how far the light influence fell in the field, all right? Soybeans don't have a long life. You put them in the ground in the spring, they grow through the summer, and in the fall we're already harvesting. And we can see here, these beans figured it out. They were in the dark. So they matured and are ready for harvesting. These beans in the light didn't get it. They're still growing, and these are growing big time. And that's what happens to the plants in our yards too. If you've got lights on them, you're messing with their growth and with their normal cycles. People who have uplights on foundation plantings around the house are doing damage to the foundation plantings. So many people now have uplights in the trees in their yards. They're doing damage to those trees. If you have your garden next to a light that's on all night, you're also causing this kind of action to happen where it doesn't know when to stop growing and when to be ready for harvest. And what's really fun is over here, the shadow from the light pole that fell across the field made it dark enough that the beans going right down the middle knew when it was time to be harvested. They actually matured. So that is just a perfect example of how light is hurting plants. But light pollution has other effects too, because light pollution is a waste of energy, and it has huge economic and environmental consequences for us. Just a few examples, and these were from DOE statistics that I took. Outdoor lighting in the US alone uses about 380 terawatt hours of energy every year, mostly to light up streets and parking lots. How many parking lots are lit up across this country every night and there's nobody there? Nobody cares. There's nobody there. It's enough energy to power 35 million homes. That's how much we're wasting. They also say 99% of outdoor light is wasted, and that outdoor lighting creates 228 million metric tons of CO2 emissions every year. And we would have to plant 3.8 billion tree seedlings growing for 10 years every year to offset that. We can't plant that many trees. It's costing us big. Climate change, our pocketbooks, everything. It's a huge waste of energy. And of course, it is hurting people, all right? We evolved in the same cycles of day and night and seasons that everything else did on this planet. Now, our bodies produce a hormone called melatonin, which I'm sure you're aware of, in response to the circadian rhythm. Light pollution suppresses it. And I'm not saying light is all bad, right? But it does come at a price for us. It does come at a price. Research is showing that artificial light at night negatively affects our health by increasing our risk to obesity, depression, sleep disorders, diabetes, breast and prostate cancer were the two that we've been talking about for a long time. But every article I pick up on this topic, more and more and more cancers are being linked to light pollution and this melatonin suppression. And they're still doing research. Research on people and light pollution was a while taking off. But once it started, people, physicians, the researchers were really starting to pay attention to what light pollution does to us as people. Now, it's pretty widely accepted today that artificial lighting contributes to a false sense of security. It makes us feel safer, but what research is showing is it's not really making us safer. Property crime. Everybody says, I got to light up my house because, I don't want criminals here at night. Research is showing that most property crime occurs in daylight. The FBI did a really big research project on this. Property crime mostly occurs during the day. And that's because you're not home. And today, criminals can dress up as any service person you can imagine and get into your house, and your neighbors don't think a second about it because it's a service person and you probably called them. So, we make it easy for them. We also make it easy for them when at night, if we brightly light our homes at night, again, they case houses. They know what the safe houses are. They don't like risk. Criminals don't like risk. They like things that are easy. They know when you're home. They know when you're not. If your house is all lit up like a Christmas tree, they know where the doors are. They know how to get in. Even if they set the alarm off, you've probably lit it up well enough for them that they can quickly get what they came for, and they're gone before the police get there. So thinking that we're making our homes safer by putting all these lights on them is being shown to be false. Traffic lights out there, on street lights, causing glare. Glare hurts our eyes. It makes us see less. It's not safe. Plus, they can cast some pretty dark shadows, and we can't see in those shadows. Research has shown here that you can remove some of these lights, and it doesn't even make a difference in how traffic flows. They studied some intersections to see, well, if I remove some of these lights, does it affect accident rates or pedestrian hits or anything like that? and it's showing it doesn't make a difference. Cities, there have been cities that have spent the big bucks and replaced street lights, and they do it in blocks, all right? They can't afford to do them all at one time. But the one city, they got them up on the streets, and the city council people, the police, all expected to hear calls from the people driving. What did you do to our lights? I can't see anything. They put in dark sky friendly lighting at the proper color temperature, and they didn't hear a word. Not one single call. Even when, because they were looking to be environmentally and conscious and also to save money, at some point in the night, the lights even became dimmer. And no one said anything because everything was still well lit. And that's the difference. Dark sky lighting can be, you can see in everything at lower lumen levels, and you have a warm color temperature. And now we got cities think that, you can brighten things up, and we need all these lights. And Chicago did a study. They were having trouble in their alleys with crime. So someone said, well, let's just put lights in them, we'll light them all up, and it'll get rid of the problem. And then someone else said, well, let's stand back a minute and do some research first. So they selected alleys, and then they took half of them and kept them dark. The other half, they lit up brightly. What they found was all the crime moved to the brightly lit lights. Apparently criminals need lights to work. They found that the graffiti artists were there because you really like to be able to see to do graffiti. But the other kinds of crimes too, drug deals, drug use, prostitution, it all moved to the brightly lit areas. So that wasn't the solution to the problem. So, and we've been told, I mean, I hear it every day, we got to have all these bright lights. How can I not have this all brightly lit? Well, you can light it, because dark sky does not mean dark ground. It just means we're putting the light where it belongs. And if you put light where it belongs, then you can see better than we can now. For instance, in this one, over here, this is another form of light pollution, glare. Pretty bad stuff. And it makes it hard to see, because if you try to go between glare and a dark area, your eye can't do that because the glare made your eyes constrict. So then when you move to look at the dark area, there's not enough eye there to see it all. But when he covered up the glare, you can see this person standing there. So if this person had meant to do harm, it was pretty easy to do, because he could have popped out of the dark and this person would have never seen them. Another example. Typical college campus or any park, you've got lights on poles. And they're shining brightly, they're glaring again, all right? And they're casting shadows, dark shadows. We've got this guy here. Can you see him in this picture? He's standing right here under the flagpole. Right there's his head. You should be able to see, the light is there, for crying out loud. You should be able to see him standing under that flagpole, and you can't. Again, if they mean to do you harm in these kinds of situations, all they have to do is hide in this deep shadows, because your eyes will not be able to see them. And people meaning to do harm understand that. So we need better lighting design. And last but not least, one of the problems with light pollution is it's stealing the sky. And not just for astronomers. I mean, we love our night sky and we love our research. But it's more than that. It's a part of our heritage. It's inspired science and religion and philosophy and art and poetry and music, literature. What would it be like today if we could have never seen the sky? How would our lives be so different if we could not see the skies? So the sky allows us, it provides perspective and inspiration. That's how all these other things happened. We'd have never gone to the moon if we couldn't have seen a starry sky. Kind of helps us think about our place in the universe. It's our heritage, and we have to save it. There are 5 principles for responsible outdoor lighting that I'm going to go through one by one. Rule 1 is purpose. If you go to your home and you start taking an inventory of all your outdoor lighting, the first question to ask, does it serve a purpose? It should be for wayfinding or performing a specific task, like maybe getting into the door. If it doesn't have a purpose, then it's recommended that it be removed or disabled so that it can't be turned on by accident. So purpose. We have to have a purpose. Targeted. When you're looking at your lights, where does the light fall? Is it falling where it's needed? Or is it falling over here or out there or maybe in the neighbor's yard? Where's it falling? It needs to fall where it's needed. So we need to be, our light fixtures should be full cutoff fixtures. All right? A full cutoff fixture, and I'm going to use my hands again, is basically a cap, and they make beautiful fixtures now for dark sky. But it's a fully shielded. When you hold the light at eye level, the bottom of the light at eye level, you should not be able to see the light bulb. If you can see the bulb hanging below that line, then it's still spreading light where it doesn't belong. Same thing as if it has a lens. A lens is that plastic cap that's on some lights. Some of them hang down, some of them are smaller. Their purpose is to spread the light. That's their purpose. They were made to do that. If it's going to have a lens on it, that also has to be recessed up and in the light fixture. But it's a fully shielded fixture. If you go to a hardware store, I don't care which one it is, and look for fully shielded fixtures, there will be some boxes that have on it dark sky friendly. Then when you open it up, you find out that yes, it's got a nice shield, but the light hangs too low. Okay, they didn't think about that when they were saying fully shielded dark sky friendly. So some are labeled dark sky friendly that really aren't, so you might have to be prepared to take it back. There are boxes out there that say certified by Dark Sky International, an IDA seal of approval. Dark Sky International has a group that certifies lighting. If it has the dark sky certification on it, then it's dark sky friendly. Then you're going to find lights that are perfectly dark sky friendly that don't say so. So it's a real mix out there. And I know light fixtures are really expensive, so you want to be sure to get a truly dark sky friendly fixture to put up. But it has to be targeted. The light has to go where it's needed. Does The appropriate amount of light. All right. This is measured in lumens or watts if you're using incandescent. It's lumens if it's, sure I can say it. Yeah, LEDs. The more lumens, the more watts, the brighter it is. Lower the lumens, lower the watts, the less bright it is. You have to decide this. But what I will say is, why use 1,500 lumens when 300 will do? And once you start looking at this, you will be amazed at how few lumens you need to really light things up at night, because it doesn't take much. I have a display down at the Wilderness Center of good and bad lighting and good and bad fixtures. And I've got some that are 300 that people just ooh and ah over because they can't believe it gives off that much. They can see that well with it. So you have to decide. The more lumens, the more watts, the more it costs you to operate. So the lower you can go, the better. But again, this is what you have to decide, is how bright does it have to be. And I will tell you, there are lights out there at 5,000 lumens, and it's like, I can't think of any reason to have that at a house, because that's really, really bright. Now, you could have a reason, but we have yet to come up with a good one for that. So lowest lumens that you absolutely need. Control. Lights need to be on active controls. A switch. Turn it on when you need it and off when you don't. Timers. They don't have to, you can get them off early in the evening on a timer. And then you've got motion sensors. And motion sensors, these are one of the best security items you can put on your light. Lights that are left on all night become invisible. You don't see them after a while. But lights that pop on, that gets your attention. Now, the person that turned them on, they don't know whether you saw them and turned on the light or whether it was on a motion sensor. Either way, it's become too risky for them. They're going to go cause trouble somewhere else because now they turned on a light. Motion sensors. And motion sensors should be set to go off about 5 minutes after. And you do have to be careful to set them such that it's people that they come on for and not raccoons, like at our house. No raccoons. Okay, and warm. Color temperature is important. Color temperature in lighting is measured in Kelvin. Anything 3,000 Kelvin and below is considered warm. Anything above 3,000 is considered cool or cold lighting. You find that in hospitals, institutions, office buildings. Warmer light you find around, usually in homes and outside of homes. And actually, what's recommended by Dark Sky International, 2,700 Kelvin. At the Wilderness Center, I'm having everything changed out to 2,700 Kelvin because it's just a little bit warmer. The warmer you go, the less insects you attract, which is one of the reasons we went with 2,700. Dark Sky would now tell us, they put out a position paper, it's been more than a year ago now, saying everything outside should be 2,200 Kelvin, but I can't find 2,200 Kelvin at the hardware stores. 2,700 is really easy. I think 22 Kelvin is having trouble because nobody's asking for it. They're not stocking it. So you really can't find it. I had to hunt on Amazon to find a 2,200 Kelvin bulb for my exhibit. So 2,200 is hard, but 2,700 is really easy. And that's a nice warm color. And again, 2,700 you know, 300, 500 lumens. That's a lot of light at night. It really is. So warm color choice. Now, what I'm going to make sure gets provided to you, and I took this off of Dark Sky's site. It's going to look like this. This will be the front page. And the reason I'm giving it to you is, well, one, it summarizes a little bit of what I just talked about. But it gives you the rules, but it also gives you a worksheet you can use to do an inventory around your home with the rules. You can see, okay, it meets this, 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 but it doesn't meet that, so what am I going to do about it? Okay, so I'm going to send this to John. I'm also sending to John, this is a sheet that shows examples of bad lighting choices and good lighting choices that he'll send out to all of you as well. We'll leave that there for right now. So that way you can have kind of a head start as to what you're going to do around your own home. And please know, you don't have to change everything out all at once. I had one person tell me, every light on my property is wrong. What can I do? That's fine. Over time, do something now, do something in a few months, maybe a few months later. You don't have to do it all at once. I know there are people who do, because one person told me, oh, I went home and changed them all out. And that's great. I'm so thrilled for him. But you don't have to. You can take time, because this is an expensive endeavor if you have to replace fixtures. I know that. And the fancier the fixture, just like all the others, the more it costs. It's amazing, the prices they get for some of this stuff. IDA, if you want to go out to Dark Sky International site, they have a button on their webpage that takes you to their certification page. And you can search by type of light you want or manufacturer. There's 4 or 5 different things you can search on there if you want to go that route. But honestly, you can go to the hardware store and carefully select truly dark sky fixtures. And remember, it's got to be fully encapsulated. I know there's so many light fixtures where it has a nice cap on it, and then glass sides or plastic sides, those are so wrong, okay? Because the light can go everywhere. If you can see the light bulb, it's wrong. You have to have a fixture where you cannot see the light bulb. That is so key. Cannot see it. And you will be doing well. And I've been talking a lot about Dark Sky. They're the globally recognized authority on light pollution issues in the Night Sky Conservancy. And their mission is to restore the nighttime environment and protect communities from harmful effects of light pollution through outreach, advocacy, and conservation. We at the Wilderness Center are working on our Dark Sky International accreditation. Hopefully we're getting closer as we are changing out our own lights, because it's a nature center. We didn't do a good job but we weren't thinking about this when it was built or back in 2000 when they did the renovation. But now we are, and so now we're trying to do things right. So we are working toward our accreditation. And should you have any questions, you can always call me. I put the Wilderness Center's website up there in case you were interested in the cemetery or our forest consulting operations, and also Dark Sky International site there. And I also left business cards up here as well as some brochures on that. So that is it. Thank you so much. Any questions? I have a light shining in my face, so I'm going to move here.
Sorry.
Any questions I can answer?
Robin, does the color of the light matter. I have a young girl that lives next door to me, and people say, "Did you see the Barbie movie?" And I go, "She lives next door to me." And everything is lit up. She's got 2 coach lights on the garage, a big pole light, and she's got like Christmas lights up on the peak of the garage that change color for every holiday.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, Christmas lights in and of themselves. We at Dark Sky aren't too worried about those as long as they stay at Christmas, because usually they're very low voltage and they aren't spreading light too far. But if you put them up, you take them down. Leaving them up all year kind of violates the rules. And color does matter. Like I say, we went warm color temperatures. However, there are yellow bug lights to cut down on bugs. Those have yellow LEDs in them. Those are fine because they don't contain any blue light. Red light, which we have around the observatory and the planetarium, red LEDs, that's about as warm as you can get. So red light, pure red light, not white light colored red. That's kind of better, but it's not what we want. You really want the red light. Blue lights, I see blue light bulbs. There's several on my trip home every night from the Wilderness Center, and they drive me crazy. Blue light, that's what we're trying to avoid. That has the harmful light in it, harmful to us, harmful to all animals. Green light, green has blue in it, so green light really isn't acceptable either. If you're going to do that, just, a party in the backyard and the lights come down, that's one thing. But if it's going to be up all night, shining every which way, then you don't want the blue light and the light that contains blue in it out there.
These are those kind that they like rotate. They go from one color to the next color to the next color, and I'm sure they can see her house from the International Space Station.
They can fix that. I searched and searched and searched to find red lights to put up around the observatory because they didn't want to spend money to dig trenches to put in lighting. It had to be solar lighting. I found some solar lights that, yes, I could go through all the colors of the rainbow and some extras, but I also didn't buy them to do that. They had the option that I could set them on red and they stay on red. And that's what I did. Actually, they had 4 cycles. They had cool white. One was set at 4,000. Then it went to 3,000, which was warmer. I'll give it that. Then the colors, and then I could go to solid. So all I had to do was set it on the solid to get one color that I wanted, the red. So some of that is out there too, but you have to be really careful because not all of them would let you do that kind of thing. And I don't know what her lights do. But yeah, if it's cycling through all these colors and they have blue in them, then it's still doing damage to whatever's around them.
Would you call her?
Would she listen? This is one of those things where this has to really pull at your heartstrings, that you want to do the right thing for ourselves and for the rest of the critters that we share the planet with. Because I have people who argue all the time, no, we need more lights, we need brighter lights. And it's like, no, we need good lights.
For a lot of people, lighting's like the Second Amendment.
Yeah. They get very upset discussing the fact that you don't need all these lights.
Where would be the best place to go to see the Milky Way, where it would have a truly dark sky?
Oh, well, that's hard. In Ohio?
No, I mean like Upper Michigan.
Upper Michigan isn't bad.
Down by Columbus, John Glenn.
John Glenn is, if you want to stay in Ohio, John Glenn isn't bad. They still have light pollution, but not near what we have up here.
It's down in Hocking Hills.
Yeah. You can go west to some of the, one of the parks out there, because almost all our national parks are dark sky accredited now. Though light pollution is creeping its way into them. But they're still darker than anything we've got here.
What about the data centers?
Oh, I have no idea what they're going to do. They're probably going to be lit up like Christmas trees. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. And it's hard making cities want to change what they're doing. I mean, some cities, there's been a couple now. I told you about the one. They're in Colorado somewhere where they changed out their street lights. There's one in some northern part of New York. They have an observatory up there. But they put in street lighting that is so awesome. Because not only can they dim it, but say in their allotment they lose a kid, they can actually brighten the lights just in that block or the blocks around it so they can search. I mean, they have all kinds of controls over their street lights. And they're nice and dim for the most part. They dim them lower as the night goes on. But they have options to, if they need more light, they can make them brighter. So there are so many solutions out there. But we have to have the will to do it. And, you know, they spend a lot of money putting up bad lights. And it's going to cost them a lot of money to put in new lights. But they could go street by street, just like us at our homes. They don't have to do it all at once. They could do it street by street by street by street until they get it all done. Europe is much better at this than us. We deny it exists. So we're not jumping on that bandwagon fast enough. But Europeans, they are good at passing bills for darker skies and rules about what cities can do. We just aren't we aren't there. But it takes heart. You have to really want it. You have to believe in it. For instance, the sea turtles were being drawn inland rather than going out to sea because when they hatch, they follow the moon to the ocean. But they were following the street lights to the streets and being run over. So the people down there so love their sea turtles, they were willing to spend the money to redo the lighting along parts of the coast so that the turtles were going where they should be going. So it's that kind of thing. You have to really appreciate it, yeah. Yes, they can. What you want to do, what she asked was, do lights inside the house affect light pollution? Yes. Now that's not part of my accreditation program, but what they will tell you is if you can put shades or curtains across your lights at night, because migrating birds are going to hit those windows at night. Insects are drawn to those windows at night. So there's a lot of reasons if you can cover them up. I know every window in my house is covered so that the light isn't going out. So yes, if you can cover windows with blinds or curtains, that's really, really helpful too.
Thank you very much, Robin.
Thank you.
Thank you.